Trying to decide what to eat 3 meals a day, every day, and make sure you have all the ingredients to make them before you put it in a pan is tough, but it doesn't have to be. Hi, and welcome back to my channel, and today's video is another helpful tutorial in my Notion series. To help make things easier for myself, I've created this easy Notion page that can be integrated with your home dashboard to help ensure my weeks stay organized and well balanced. So let's get into the video and I'll show you how it all works. This is a really simple template with only 1 page and 3 databases because I designed it to fit in with my home page and didn't want to make meal planning so complicated that I never did it. When you duplicate this template, you will see my usual Notion template intro guide. You can just delete this whenever you are done with it. It's just here on all of my templates. Below that is also my usual page guide, and this just explains in words how all of the features work in case you are less of a visual learner or you forget how something works and you want to quickly check. You can also delete this when you don't need it or archive it in case you want to come back to it later but don't want it right front and center in your page. I'm going to go in an order that's a bit different to how it's displayed on the page just so we can input data in a sequential manner and show how all the databases speak to each other. I'll start with recipes. This is a database where you can store all the recipes you have by the time of day you usually eat them. You can add other things that are not strictly recipes. For example, on my page, I have eating out just to signify I don't need to prepare anything for that meal. I will show you how to add a recipe and all the features within the database. So if you click new page, it'll show up here and you can call the recipe what you want. Let's say lasagna. Lasagne. Sure. You can also choose a little icon if you want. Nope, it's no lasagna, there's a pasta. That looks like lasagna, sure. You can choose a little icon just to make things look nicer, but you don't have to do this. You then choose a type of cuisine. In the template, I've added a few just basic ones, but you can change, remove, add whatever you want to this. You also don't have to use this section. It's just in case you might want to filter by a certain type of meal if you want to see what you have for that cuisine. So this is Italian. Meal, typically a dinner. You can choose multiple or just 1 meal time. All this does is change what it shows in the filter up here in recipes. So because we only chose dinner, it only shows up in dinner. However, it won't change how it shows up in the weekly plan, which we'll talk about in a bit. Ingredients, you can then link any ingredients you need to make this recipe. In the ingredients database, have added a few basic ingredients that I already had from using this myself, as well as a few extras. And so you just link anything you need, like cheese. So you find something that you already have, you can just click to add it. And then if there's things that you don't have, like we don't have the pasta sheet, you can just type them in from here and press new pasta and ingredients, and it will add it both to the ingredients database and to this recipe. You can also add the time it takes in minutes. This is just a rough guide for you, so you know if you only have a certain amount of time to prep for a certain meal that you maybe shouldn't take something that takes a bit longer. So let's say this takes 120 minutes because lasagna does take a while. And then if you open up the recipe, there is also extra things in here. So within the properties, there is a URL. If it's an online recipe, you can add in the link in case you want to go back and reference it. Underneath, we'll see all the ingredients. This is where you can add them as well or mark them as something that you need to buy because you're out of stock at home. And then there's also a template guide, which explains all these properties and the pieces down here. And so you can also delete that from the template when you no longer need it. And just in the body section, we just have 2 simple areas. We have ingredients and recipe. Even though we have ingredients up here linked to the database, I found that I also want it written down so that I can have the exact measurements I need of each ingredient, because that will change each time I have to buy cheese. I don't need the same amount of cheese each time. So if I write how much cheese I need in this section, when I go to buy it, I can write how much I need of that. And then here you can either write or copy and paste the recipe if you need it. If it's something you make all the time and you don't need it, you can just leave this blank. Just jumping over to my meal planning page quickly to show you how this looks when you have multiple recipes. It does look slightly different because I've updated it for the template, but it all functions the same. When you look in different meal times, it will show up as a gallery view where you can add stock photos of the meal or yourself making the meal, and then it will also show what type of cuisine it is and what time of day that you usually plan to eat it. If you then click on the recipe, you can see that I have all my ingredients linked that relate to the ingredients written in the body. And so then I can just tick them off when I want to buy them, and that'll automatically move to my shopping list. I also have the URL from the specific video that I want to reference when I make this if I forget and need to have a look at how specifically she does a certain step. But I have also just written down the steps from the video so that I can just read that quickly if I remember and don't need to look up any part of the video. So that is the recipes. However, we did talk briefly about these ingredients. However, it can still be a bit confusing if you haven't done much with related databases before. And so now let's go to ingredients and I'll explain how this all talks to each other. So here you can see a list of every ingredient that you've ever added, and you can see there are quite a lot of things that I have added that will come pre-made in the template. If there are things that you never buy, you can delete them. If you want to just start fresh, you can just click here to click all of them and click delete, and there will be none left, or you can just start completely from scratch. I've also divided these by type because when you're shopping, you're not just shopping for food, there are other things that you need. So I've divided them between ingredients, which is food things, and non-ingredients, which are other essentials like deodorant for me, shampoo, things like that. You can also mark what type of store. So I've only had supermarket and chemist here. You can add whatever you want. If there's different types of supermarkets that you go to and a certain ingredient is only found in one of those supermarkets, you can divide that up. I have done that myself. If you have pets and you go to a pet store, you can mark that down. This is just so you can quickly, when you have a big list of ingredients, you can sort them by the store and know everything you're getting at that one store versus anywhere else. And so you can make sure you get everything when you're at that store. You can also add a quantity. So this would be related back to the ingredients in the recipe. So say you're making 2 different recipes that have bacon in them. You may need a certain amount for one recipe and a certain amount for another. So you can add them together and say one recipe needs 150 grams, but the other one needs 100 grams. So you can write 250 grams so that you know exactly how much that you need. Also mark it as to buy. So that's what this checkbox is. This checkbox will say that you need to buy it, and then it'll show up in the shopping list up here, which we'll go through in a second. There is a button up here called Reset Stock. What this does is when you click the button, you'll see in bacon, it unticked the buy box and it also deleted the quantity. I made the button do this because each time I'm going shopping, I need a different quantity of things. And so the quantity is never the same for anything. And so I just found it easier to have this button that clears all of it at once. So I don't need to make sure that I've written the right thing in there and not have an old number in there. If you don't want this button to delete the quantity because you always buy the same amount of an ingredient and you don't want it to do that, you can just alter this button. So if you click the cog here and press edit button, you can see it's editing all pages in ingredients to uncheck buy and make the quantity blank. What you can do is just click on this down arrow here and press remove and click done. So now if we tick bacon and write 250 grams again, if I click reset stock, it will uncheck it, but it won't delete the quantity. That's just based on how you shop and how you plan things out. That was just the way that it works for me. That's why I have the button functioning that way. But as you can see, it's very easy to change. You can also just not use the button. Often when I'm in the shops, I will have the shopping list open and I will manually untick things, and then later on I will just press this button later to reset stock. And so it doesn't have to be done all bulk at once. It doesn't matter if things are unticked. See how bacon is still unticked but the quantity is still there. If we add in quantity back to blank out, even though this is unticked, I press reset stock, the quantity still gets deleted. So the button won't break if there's nothing checked in the buy column or if there's nothing in the quantity columns. It'll just do what it can. So let's check off some ingredients and then go to the shopping list. So now we go up to the shopping list. This is just a filtered database view of the ingredients list where anything that is checked as to buy will show up here. You will also see what store you've selected grouped by the certain store. So see alphabetical, but because shampoo's at the chemist, it is not before yogurt, it is separate. So that way you have all the things that you need to buy at the certain store grouped together and can see them easily and make sure you don't forget anything. And then if you add in a quantity, you'll also see it. I have made the quantity just a simple text property so that you can write whatever you want in. So something I often do is if I need a certain quantity, like say for eggs, if I need 6 eggs, I've written 6. But so you don't have too much overwhelming ingredients of if you buy multiple different types of yogurt, multiple different types of ice cream or meat or anything like that, you can then just write the specific thing that you want. So for yogurt, I've written Chobani, so I know that's the one I want. Another thing I do is if it's something like deodorant where there's different types of deodorant I purchase, I just type in the quantity, the specific one that I need to get, so I remember and buy that right one. So you can grab this view, you can stick it on a separate page that has quick access on your phone, or you can just open up this page to the shopping list. And then when you're in the shops, you just have it open on your phone and you can untick something when you've added it into your shopping cart or your shopping basket. So if you just untick it, because we got the bacon, you see it now disappears. If you're just buying a few things or you know that you have something in your cart and you don't untick it as you go, you can just leave them all here. And then when you come home or when you're all done, you can press the reset stock button and they will all disappear. So that's the ingredients database. We'll go to the last database on this page, which is the weekly plan. This is where you can plan out based on all the recipes you've added to your recipe database, what you're going to eat for each meal in a day during the week. So what you do is you select the box for the day that you're going to add a meal to, and you'll find here any recipes that you've added. As you can see which meal you've tagged it as, but it won't only show lunch meals. So even though I clicked on Monday lunch, I'm still seeing something that's tagged as dinner. This is just unfortunately how relations within Notion works. You can't really filter view them, but it works well if it's something that you only want to see in the dinner section, but you might have it as a leftover for lunch. Say like you make a whole sheet of lasagna and so you're eating it for the next few meals. What you can do is if you have a lot of recipes, you can search for what you want, or you can, if you already see it, you can just click on it to add it. If you also want to add another recipe, you can do it straight from here. So just ham sandwich. You can then click to add it and you'll see now it's added here. And you can come back later and add in all the details. This table will help you give a clear overview of what you're going to eat for the week. That way, if you want to bulk prepare or bulk shop for ingredients, you know everything that you need, you can mark it off and have it ready to go. It helps just with making meal decisions a lot easier and avoiding that issue of getting to 5:30 p.m. and not knowing what you're going to eat for dinner and just having something out of the pantry that's not necessarily as healthy for you. So when it's the end of the week and you're planning the next week, you can just click this reset week button and everything will be deleted. If you're someone who does their meal planning and they're shopping on a Saturday for the Monday, so you still need the Sunday info, you could always just add in some new pages that are a extra Sunday and an extra Saturday so that you don't lose that information, or you could just not press the reset week button and manually do it. This is just the easiest way I found to set out the meal planning for myself and for how I prepare meals. So it's not perfect for that overlap. If you're a bulk preparer who does it in advance, you might find that you run into a bit of issues, but it works and it works simply, which is what I needed. There are other meal planners available from other template creators that are actually linked to calendar dates, and therefore you won't lose the information when you need to reset for a week. However, they are a bit more complicated to create, and I knew that wasn't something that would work for me, so that's why this is the way that I've made it. As I said earlier, I've integrated this page with my homepage so that I see just the sections that I need daily. If you download the template, you can do this too, just by adding a linked view to the database that you want to see and stylizing it to however you want to view that information. You don't have to add it to your home dashboard. You can also just leave it as a separate page if it's not something that you use often, or you would just want to have it as a separate view and not part of your home database. You could also make a dedicated page that's laid out better for your phone if you often just use it on your phone for shopping or cooking in the kitchen. And that's all the template is. Very simple, I know, but sometimes that's all you need to help take that extra load off your brain and free it up for something else. If you like this template, I've left a link in the description below to download it for free. Let me know in the comments how you use this template and any other templates you would like to see me create. Click this video to watch another Notion tutorial, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!